Shane Dribshack for a Thursday, back basketball in focus and getting this whole schedule in focus with a crazy week of weather, all the cold we've had, all the snow, the ice, and different elements that have been battling this week. Battling the schedule, Coach Thomas Griffis with us, and it's Thomas Ice Griffis, and what his nickname is perfect for this week. You're going to be feeling that this week, Coach. What about now? You can give us a quick, up-to-date version. What happens now about the play-in game that was supposed to be held between Southern Alamance and Grimsley? Is that by the wayside now, and how do the teams now get seeded for the tournament in the sectionals next week?
From what I understand, being that school is closed tomorrow, the playing game is off, and we will go by the draw that we had last Saturday.
At the coaches' meeting?
Yes, sir.
So that you guys went and did that in advance, and you guys drew number 3.
Drew number 3.
Sounds good. I mean, we've got all these generic questions I'm going to ask you guys about tonight because all the fans are asking these generic questions. How do we think what teams will do? Will you go to the East or go to the West? Who will you play? Who has the best chance of bringing home the title? How do you think that layoff from the snow may affect you? Some of those things, do you know any idea now at all who you might play? Is it all cut and dry now?
We have no idea. There have been some predictions, maybe West Charlotte or maybe go to Scotland County, but that's not certain yet.
If you play West Charlotte, that sounds like that definitely would be in the West. If you're playing Scotland County, does that put you in the East?
I think it's still in the West.
Still in the West, guys.
I think it's still in the West.
Kind of veering down that way toward Richmond County, Scotland County, making that long turn down that way. But you feel like you guys will be in the West. I guess the most important thing is you can actually look back and say, we're in. That means a lot.
We're in. It means a whole lot. It means a great deal. I think the guys are excited. We might get a chance to practice on Saturday. So
it'll be fun to get all the guys together again, huh?
It would be. I don't think we've been together all week.
Wow. Last time you guys worked out, I guess, was last Friday night, that game over at Smith.
That's correct.
So what's happened over the past week? What have the guys been doing in the past week since school's not been in session? What do they do then?
Probably sleeping.
You think so?
No, I think some of them have gone to the gym and played a little pickup ball.
Yeah.
I hope so anyway.
Not a good week to be playing outdoor ball.
No, I don't think you want to play outside this
I was
week.
out there last Sunday, but I didn't stay out there too long. I go to some different courts. Sometimes I'll stop at one for a few minutes because, I did go to the one down at Forest Valley Court. Got in a few shots there last Sunday. One thing about last Sunday, that ball, when it hits your hand outdoors, it was almost like it was a true rock hitting your hand. Yeah, almost break a finger off in a day like that. Yeah. But your guys probably working out somewhere, but not as a team. No way you can work out at all.
No way we can work out as a team when school is out. Practices are canceled.
How do you think that layoff affects you guys? I mean, it's almost like you guys had a early spring break with that time off. But how do you think this will affect the team when you get back together, hopefully on Saturday to practice again?
It really depends. Sometimes the guys get burned out and they need that break. Some guys get a little rusty when they lay off for a week. So it'll be interesting to see how we respond in practice.
It's kind of interesting, too, because sometimes after a loss last night, Friday night, you kind of want the guys maybe try to forget that loss. Sometimes you want to remember what they did wrong. You also want to forget it, get out of your mind, get ready for the next game. So it shouldn't be a problem forgetting that game. I told somebody the other day, I said, gosh, with this layoff this week, no games on our website, at least keeping up all these teams. It seems like about a year ago since last Friday night's game.
Yeah, well, I hope we remember how we played the second half.
Yeah, I know. And it's crazy because I could almost document in my mind those two games. I was at your game against Smith at Grimsley, came in that night after a Dudley Southeast girls game. Well, I told the story last week anyway. Southeast beat Dudley at Dudley girls that night 56-53, came to your place. When I walked in the door, you guys were up 30-12, and here comes Smith on that first half run. They made the big run. I think they had a 17-0 run, made the lead like 30-29 at halftime. Exactly. They come back in the second half, they grabbed the lead. But the crazy thing was, Smith did all that work, but you guys actually weathered the storm and had a couple of huge runs of your own. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes you have the big lead, you give up the big lead, a team comes back and goes ahead, you don't have any response, but you guys actually responded that night.
We did. I was very proud of them, how they responded. I always tell them the game is a series of runs, and a lot of times is whoever has that last run is the team that'll win the ball game. Coach
Partee, I don't give him as much credit as I probably should, but he had a good phrase he used the other night. He talked about the run stopper. You always got to have a run stopper, and that seems to be true.
Yeah, they had one. Aaron Simpson was a run stopper.
He was that night, and then again, he was definitely the run bearer the other evening at their place. He had a whale of a game again.
He did. He's a tough ball player, and I give him all the credit. He's hard-nosed, tough athlete, and just plays hard. That's all you ask of you guys, is give it 110% on the floor, and that's what he does for them.
Coach Thomas Griffis with us from Grimsley. You go back to that second half. You guys had a charge. You guys not only had a run, you charged right back in that game against Smith, and you were within range to maybe pull that game out last Friday. After people had given you up pretty much for dead in that first half.
We were. That's the half I want them to remember going into the States.
If you looked at the conference players, you've been to the conference coaches meeting, so you probably know these things already, but you can't share some of those things with us. Got to keep those under the wraps. So I guess the regular season's over for all the conference teams. But looking at the awards, if you couldn't choose John Puryear or maybe one of your players, and you had to choose between, say, Aaron Simpson and Jalen Seegers of Page, could you tell us who you would choose between those two for player of the year? It'd be a tough choice.
That would be a very tough choice. Both of those guys do a tremendous amount of things for their ball club. Seegers does have a little help with X and DeAndre Overton. Simpson, he has some good players on his side, so it would really be a tough choice.
I was surprised in some ways, but then again, maybe not, at the help that Simpson got from Raymond Pratt the other night. He got good help from Pratt.
Raymond Pratt is a really tough kid. He's one of those guys that you can imagine he plays ball every day, whether it's outside, whether it's in the house shooting basketball hoops in the trash can or whatever. I think he's the kind of guy that's going to find a way every day to do something basketball-wise. He's just a tough ball player.
Another guy that had a fairly productive game against you, and I was a little bit surprised, but it was his senior night too, I guess. Kendrick Lowe had a good game that night. Inside, their big man played well.
Well, Kendrick is really an unsung hero for them. 6'8" guy, good hands, jump hook left, right. I mean, he's a tough ball player.
That's a smooth little baby hook shot, like you say he's got, really smooth.
Yeah, go both ways with it.
It's kind of like what we saw last night. I mean, I was impressed with Kennedy Meeks last night for North Carolina, his inside action.
Oh, yeah. He and Okafor, some tough ball players down low.
Big-time battles
lost
down low.
Art, man. It's a lost art, the inside presence.
It is. It's kind of a lost art, too, because Meeks is almost like the burly big man, the Wes Unseld we used to see years ago for the old Washington Bullets, the big, strong guy inside.
Oh, yeah.
And he still carries that on pretty well.
He does.
He's still cutting weight off, too. I got to give him credit for that. He keeps losing weight. I hope he doesn't become one of those guys that loses his girth and loses his kind of his personality and changes his game. I hope his game stays the same. I think he does too. Meeks, I know we're getting off the subject a little bit, but we're talking about the game, kind of comparing Meeks and the guys with Kendrick Lowe. But Meeks last night, good at the foul line, hitting the free throws. Good free throw shooter.
That's a big plus when your big man can knock down free throws.
Well, you look at it, we're going to ask you a question. Do you need a Saturday scrimmage to get you guys back in order after the long layoff? You say you could well have a Saturday practice, would be just about as good.
Just about as good. We've got some guys that have been stepping up lately, so I'm pretty sure we'll have a competitive practice on Saturday.
And you look at that for Saturday, do you think maybe we might have the good old-fashioned maybe 2-hour practices? You hadn't practiced for a while, just go ahead and make this a good long day practice?
We might get up and down the floor a little bit, get the legs back loose, but we really need to work on some technical stuff.
If you could go Saturday, what's the best time to go? You go 10 to noon? You go in the afternoon? Any idea?
It all depends. I think our gym may be occupied or has been scheduled to be occupied on Saturday, so I have to find out what time is available.
Wow, so just kind of go by gym availability on Saturday there. If the gym weren't available, where would you go? You got some place picked out you could take the guys to get a workout in?
I could find somewhere.
Yeah. You probably got some spaces out there you got access to. Corvin Davis, your old buddy Corvin, I'm sure he could probably stir something up.
I'm pretty sure he can.
Yeah. Do you guys ever go back to the old Corbett Center and play any ball in there and practice there or anything?
We haven't played, but we've gone to a couple of games. Chucky Beckman was there, Corvin Davis, some of the old guys show up and hang out at the gym.
Good memories over there.
Games. Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, too. We're going to talk about that during the course of the night tonight in some ways also. The fact that you came to Grimsley and you replaced the son of the coach you played for, Mr. Corbett. Then the man you replace, he goes back over to A&T, becomes assistant coach at the place where you played before. It's kind of interesting how that little swings around there.
Yeah, isn't life funny?
It is crazy. They say what goes around comes around. Maybe sometimes it goes around and comes around again.
Oh, yeah.
What about A&T's situation to Coach Alexander? When he first came in, things were looking promising, a little bit tougher now. Sometimes a new coach comes in first couple of years, he's got some of the players from the other regime. They're still hanging around and can use some of that old talent, but then after a couple of years, sometimes it wears off. What's happening there now, you think?
Well, I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time to build a program, and I think that's what he's doing now. He has some young guys. They're improving. I think they've improved as the season has worn on. So it's just going to take a little time for him to get those guys together and play Aggie basketball.
And you got to get with the fans, too. Let them know they can't get too overexcited in the beginning.
Exactly.
Because they do.
He had 7, 8 seniors on that team.
Wow, that's when they went to the NCAA's that year. That was a good run because they beat Liberty in that round 1 play-in game. Good run for A&T then. Could be a good run for A&T again. Back in your days, I don't think you guys ever missed the playoffs, did you? You're in probably in the tournament every year.
Yeah, we won the tournament 4 straight years. As a matter of fact, Don Corbett won 7 straight years.
Wow.
He's one heck of a basketball coach.
I don't think people were able to take all that in, how important that was. Once it changes, things change, and they get more competitive, then people realize that was really something what he was doing back then.
That was something. I always say, and this is my biased opinion, he's probably one of the top 3 college coaches in the state. I give him Dean Smith and Coach K.
Yeah, and maybe Coach Gaines back in his day put them all together, maybe a top 5 somewhere along the way. But yeah, you're right about that because Coach Corbett, the numbers you guys put up, 20-win seasons every year.
Every year. I think during the course of my tenure, we went 4 years and only lost one home game. And that was the last second shot
in
Southern University.
Wow.
One home game in 4 years.
People just can't appreciate today because of the struggles sometimes teams face when they kind of get that down. Same thing happened to the football team. They hit that downward spiral. They really couldn't appreciate how successful they were back in the day when they were having that good fortune.
Oh, yeah. Alan Hooker and all the boys back in the
they
day,
were tearing it up. There were times those guys, gosh, they were just completely dominant. They're kind of getting it back now, too, under Coach Broadway. He's starting to bring it back. The game's changed a lot, too. A lot bigger players this day and time. Things are getting a lot stronger, too. Grimsley's a team kind of full of guards. How do you survive without the post presence? I know I'm going to talk to him later about this. Michael Featherston, very good rebounder for you. Oh, yeah. He'll rebound sometimes, kind of good. So he doesn't have to get the ball to the guard. He can bring it on up himself after he gets the board. But how do you get by, so like you say, without that inside presence?
You have to preach and teach, and we do all the time, boxing out. Boxing out and rebounding is a lost art, and I always tell the guys that rebound is one of the most underrated parts of the game. If you rebound the basketball, you always give yourself a chance.
Yeah, especially if you can get those quick rebounds on that defensive end and eliminate some of those second and third shots. You don't want to give Smith or any other team those kind of chances as you get into the. Now, back to the playoff thing. We'll come right back to some more things. I got to get these thoughts in when I hit my mind. Pretty much feel certain round 1 road game.
It will be.
Yeah, hit the road the first round. A couple of years ago with Coach Corbett and the guys, remember they went over toward Forsyth County against somebody in round 1. Had some real good success a couple of years ago, so you can do some things like that.
I think we'll be all right.
If the team's playing well, you guys are about 12-9, maybe 13-9 overall, which is not bad at all compared to where you're coming from, too.
Exactly. And like I said before, we have some guys that are starting to round out a little bit towards the end of the season, and maybe we will be one of those teams that gel late in the season.
How about the kid Bruce Davis? He's still coming around for you?
Oh, yes. Bruce adds a level of toughness, a rebounder football player.
Very aggressive.
Very aggressive.
I guess you just got to hope and pray he doesn't get in a position when he comes in at those angles to try to get those rebounds around the rim, doesn't get himself in a foul situation.
Exactly.
But he's a darn good player. Definitely can be a quick scorer for you, too. I've been impressed, too, with those two Moore brothers. The Moore brothers, right? Nick and Mason Moore?
Well, they're not actually brothers. They just have the same last name.
Not even cousins?
Not even cousins.
Wow. That's a good one. I'm glad you shared that with us tonight, too, because, man, we got to get that deception down. That's good to know. But
those are two of the ones that I've been talking about that are coming around late in the season.
They are, yeah. Wiggins is coming around early in the season. Aaron Wiggins, he was playing pretty well early. But, like you said, the two more men on that team, not brothers, not cousins, but with the same last name. Those guys, especially, I think between the two of them, had about 30 points the other night over at Smith.
They did.
Yeah, that's good to see.
They did. And, Aaron Wiggins right now is suffering from thigh contusion, so that has kept him out the last few games.
So is that keeping him out all the way? Can't play at all? Play a little bit?
We're hoping to get him back.
Tell you another guy. We want to bring up all your guys. Now they start to come to mind as we talk about it. Jamie Williams is giving you some good support too.
Yes, that's one of the guys that we're hoping is going to give us some help down low. You talked about not having a big man, and he's a force when he comes to play. He's a force down low, and we're hoping he steps up during the state playoffs.
He looks like a kind of guy comes in and very aggressive too when he plays. Very hungry.
Very aggressive.
Who do you look to? If you had to look at your team and you get in a tight situation, you mentioned earlier talking about one of the kids from over at Smith. I think you were talking probably about Raymond Pratt. I was kind of thinking about John Purrier when you mentioned Raymond Pratt being the kind of kid that must just pick up the ball and play all the time, shooting in the trash basket. Maybe I shoot here at Shane's. When I come here for lunch on Thursdays, I shoot that garbage thing in the back. I get a little piece of napkin. So I always make that. I always like to go left hand if I can. Feel better about shooting a left-hand shot when you're shooting the trash in the can. Feel like you've actually gone a little further with it. But to Purrier, he's some kind of kid too to probably be shooting all the time. Because you watch John play, watch him a little bit more last Friday night at Smith. I mean, if he kind of gets the rebound on the left side, gets the same kind of rebound on the right side, just jumps, gets the rebound. As soon as he gets the rebound, looking to shoot, looking to get the ball back in, looking to make a quick shot.
Yeah, John is one of those guys that loves to stay in the gym. A gym rat, I call him. I know in the off season he called me several times. Coach, can I get in the gym? Coach, can I get in the gym?
So he called you back during the summertime and stuff?
Oh, yeah. In the off season, in the summers, he'd call and see if we can open the gym for him. So those are the kind of guys that you like to have around.
Do you have like open gym in the springtime? I know I've heard talk about it. I keep up with it. I'll get busy in the spring, so I can't go around and see all things going on. But I guess they do have an open gym.
They have a dead period throughout the course of the year where you cannot practice and you cannot have open gym. But other than that, we have open gym.
And that's where the guys can come in, pick
Come
up,
in,
shoot,
pick up,
all type things.
work on the skills.
But you can't work with them then, right?
I can't. You can only work at that time. In the summers, it's open for you.
Mm-hmm.
During the school year, you can only work 4 at a time.
Gotcha, 4 at a time limit. What did you learn from Coach Corbett that you brought in your game? Because you talked about how much respect you have for him. What are some things you learned from Coach Don Corbett you're able to incorporate in the way you coach?
He's a defensive-minded coach. He hates turnovers, likes team basketball, likes to push the ball up the floor, get some easy baskets. So that's a few of the things I try to bring to the team. We were a tenacious team. One of the things that I talked to the guys about, no matter who we played, whether it was our rivalry or a team that was in the 8th place, we approached the game the same way we played teams no matter who they were, with a level of toughness and a level of confidence that we were going to win that ball game.
Tell you what, there was some great games between Howard and A&T and Winston-Salem State and A&T back in those days.
Oh, yes.
Bet you loved playing Winston-Salem State. Probably loved also playing if you get a game against NC Central. Those had to be big games, too.
Big games. I remember my freshman year as a walk-on. Eric Board, our senior, All-American at the time, wasn't eligible for the first 8 games. Coach came to me and said, "Look here, son, I'm going to have to throw you in the fire." I didn't know what he meant at the time, but the first game I had to play was against Winston-Salem State.
Wow.
And luckily they had a freshman point guard at the time, so it worked out well.
And you won out of it. You beat them that night, right?
Yes, we did.
Wow. Did you ever get to 25 wins? You guys get that high?
Yes, sir. We were 27-3 my senior year.
Wow, it feels good. That's even better to be that you're sitting in your freshman year, 27-3. So
First team in the MAC to go 16-0 in the conference, undefeated in the conference.
Man, now you got that 27th win. Now the third loss, is that coming your last game of the year?
Against Syracuse.
Syracuse.
In the
Wow.
Dean Dome.
How did that work? You told me that story, I think, before about playing in the Dean Dome. Was that an NCAA game?
It was first round of NCAA.
How do you end up getting Syracuse in the Dean Dome? How does that work?
I don't know. We always got the number 1 and the number 2 team in the country.
So that was part of the regional setup back then. The regional just happened to be in the Dean Dome. That's interesting, too. I mean, I'm thinking about all these basketball ideas that come to my mind when we're talking. I love talking this basketball, little particulars. It seems kind of wild in some ways. It would be like a regional game at an on-site location, too, in the Dean Dome. But I guess that happens occasionally. Because I know they play them in Raleigh, too, at the PNC Center, where it's called now, RMB. They changed all those bank names. But they play a lot at NC State, too, which that would actually could qualify also as well as an on-campus site.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting stuff. So you guys are 27-2 going to that game.
27-2.
That's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's some good
We had
memories.
a real good team that year. Real good team.
What's it going to take to get Grimsley somewhere like that one day? And I know you want to stick around long enough to see it. You don't think it's going to take forever, but what gets you guys in that range over there?
Like I said about A&T, Rome wasn't building it today. It takes time to build a sustainable program. We have some good guys in the program. We definitely need to get stronger, faster, but that'll come.
And you got to keep the same guys around, which you've done pretty well with that this year. I mean, you look at most of the guys we talked about earlier, Lamores and John Purrier, Mike Featherston and Wiggins, to a certain degree, a little bit of injury there, and Jamie Williams. Most all those guys have been around with the entire year.
Yeah, and most of them, with the exception of John and Nick Moore, will be back next year.
That's good to
if we
have.
keep those guys together, I'm pretty sure we'll make a pretty good run.
So who runs the point next year?
Well, I have a little guy that's been playing pretty well for us, a freshman named Austin Eames.
Yeah, he has, number 10.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know much about him coming in either. He's playing pretty well for you.
He's playing very well.
Good to see a guy like that coming off the bench. He's going to give you 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes at a spurt. Those are usually some important. And plus, he also covers the floor. You look over, you know, a player's playing or trying to play well, looking to play well. When you see him on the left side, next time you see him in a completely different pattern the way he covers the floor. He's on the left side. Next time he's come to the right side. I think that's a good thing too.
He's a natural ball player, very savvy guy, and he's young, but he knows the game. And next year or two, you're really going to hear a lot about him.
Got some JV kids looking pretty good too.
Oh yes, a couple of JV guys, like I say, mostly guards. Probably have a couple of guys that will play JV again next year, but the year after that, they'll help us a lot.
Is there a big man on campus anywhere you're going to put in the middle someday?
Yeah, we have 2 or 3 on the JV right now, but you know we're working them in.
Does it help you at all? I mean, not having a big man available, being a guard like you were, so you probably can accommodate these guards and handle the guard situation. Since you guys are all guards, you being a former guard, you can make this work.
I think I can.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Are you able to tell the guys sometimes about the way things were when you were a player? Can you incorporate that into your coaching? Or some coaches don't want to do it too much because everybody thinks, well, guys want to hear about what he did back in his day. But
Right.
can you utilize that?
I do it every now and again, and like you said, I don't like to do it a lot because it's not about me; it's about the guys.
Yeah.
But there's some things that I can teach them that I learned back in the day, playing under Don Corbett, playing as a smaller guard.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can incorporate with this group of guys.
Do you like to grab the ball occasionally and go on the court and do a little bit of one-on-one activity with the guys?
I do.
Just to make sure they stay in the right place?
But the old knees don't work like they used to.
I was going to ask you about that because my theory a while back about that was a smaller guy like you, he should not break down. The bigger man, I would think, would break down sooner because of the heavier weight and heavier pounding. Smaller man being lower to the floor, maybe not as much pounding. You should be more durable and last longer.
Well, old man time plays his tricks on all of us.
Yeah. It's like the man said one time about he was getting old. Why was he wearing that? He said, too many birthdays. I mean, you're probably can't be too far along. I mean, I'm mentioning birthday numbers, whatever, but you're still fairly young. Still got the young look. That's a good to your advantage, too.
Well, this is my 50.
Wow.
I'll be 50 in September.
You're a young 50, though, because you got the young face, got the young look. You keep the smile going. That helps, too.
I appreciate it.
You look at it, breaking all that down. How did you end up at A&T? So get some more of your information. We'll talk more about Grimsley as we go along, too, with Coach Thomas Ice Griffis. How did you end up at A&T? Did you come out of the eastern part of the state? Did you come from North Carolina?
I was Raleigh, Athens Drive High School in Raleigh. And I applied for North Carolina A&T, NC State, UNC, accepted those three schools. Wasn't recruited heavily out of high school, so I decided to come to school. As a group of guys from Raleigh came to A&T. Just came here to major in engineering, and we put together a little intramural squad.
Really?
Ended up winning the intramural championship.
So you weren't on the team when you first came in?
I wasn't.
Wasn't on the team at all when you first came in?
So our intramural squad won the championship. We played before. I think it was before Winston-Salem State game.
Wow, you got to play intramural game, the championship game, maybe before. Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff.
And had an opportunity to try out for the team the following year. Ended up making it.
So you, having been there with the intramural team at 1 year, the next year you go with the team. You still got 4 years eligibility.
Still have 4 years.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
4 years.
Were you ever thinking about it while you were not on the varsity team your first year in school, thinking maybe I'll just play this intramural ball, maybe my college career won't happen?
That's what I was thinking.
Really?
That's what I was thinking.
So the back of your mind, you weren't stressing. You weren't saying, man, I got to get on this varsity team. Just
having fun playing basketball. I love the game so much. I just had fun. We used to little story. We used to break in the gym at 2:00 in the morning and play basketball
over
at Moore Gym.
Wow, on A&T campus.
On A&T's campus.
Wow, 2 in the morning.
2 in the morning.
Hit the lights too.
Hit the lights 2 in the morning.
And did the security guard come around later?
No, you had 30 guys in the gym playing basketball.
And just it's 2:00 in the morning. We're going to worry about it. Wow, how long could you stay? An hour, hour and a half or so?
We would stay till 5 in the morning.
You might set a daylight.
Yeah.
And 5 on 5?
5 on 5.
Wow, you said 30 guys, maybe.
30 guys.
People
guys
waiting. Wow. That's crazy stuff. And that was the intramural season?
That was the intramural
Once the varsity season started, you had to curtail
that. Out.
Wow. Well, you've had a good basketball experience then. Good fun run.
I did.
Were the teams good down in Raleigh back in the high school days? Coach
Thomas? They were. Broughton High School, Millbrook, Sanderson, Inlow, all those teams were fairly good.
How did your team do back then?
JV year, we won the conference championship. My senior year, we won the conference championship.
So you won them both?
Yeah.
Wow. But did not get enough recognition to get you into college?
I didn't.
What was the rap on you as far as not getting into college? Would they always go by the height? Weren't big enough? Was that always it?
Well, I'll tell you what Coach Corbett said when somebody approached him about me. He said he had a 6'3" and a 6'4" All-American, Jimmy Brown and Eric Ward at the time. He said, I really can't use a 5'8" guard.
Yeah.
So the size was the challenge.
That was a factor then. Some good stuff, though. Then you got the starting job. You said you started your freshman year, right? Going against that freshman, Winston-Salem State.
Started my freshman year for the first 8 games. Then Eric came back, was eligible for the rest of the season. And I think the last 8 games, coach decided to go to a 3-guard offense, so I started again.
And you were running the point back then, probably distributing that ball, probably putting it in all the right hands.
Yeah, we had All-Americans, man.
Boy, just set them up, just get in the ball, right?
Set them up.
I bet you probably get 8-9 assists a game back then, easy.
As a matter of fact, I don't tell a lot of people that, so you got to keep this quiet.
Keep this low, okay.
I still hold the assist record and steals record at A&T.
Is that season or game?
Career.
Gotcha.
Beat Al Adams by 1 assist.
Al Adams, you beat Al, he just retired his jersey?
Just retired his jersey.
Beat him by 1 assist for the career assist leader. Wow.
Isn't that something?
That's amazing, Al Adams. I was thinking about that guy earlier with name. I was going to do a little name drop. I remember Butch Beard when he coached at Howard, some of those games they came in. But here you are going and beating Al Adams' record. Wow, that's amazing. How big was he?
I think he was 6'2".
Yeah. He looks bigger, I guess, just because he's a large, statuesque kind of guy in some ways.
Amazing ball player.
They should get a statue for Thomas Ice Griffis over at A&T, man. It's
don't know
all-time
about
career assist leader. But think about it. Seems like with you, it doesn't matter as much about all the numbers. You were just having fun.
Just having fun. Just happy to be a part of the team.
Just glad to be on the bus, glad to be on the plane,
Yes,
making
sir.
that trip. How did you get the Ice nickname? Because nicknames are sometimes a good subject. How did you get that name?
Well, it came from George Gervin. A friend of mine and I went to Campbell's basketball camp one summer. I think you may know him, a guy named Myron Gaylord. He's a referee in the area.
Oh, yeah.
He had Magic put on the back of his T-shirt, and I had Ice put on the back of mine, and just
Wow.
followed him from there.
So, like, you were thinking almost like about the Iceman, George
Iceman,
Gervin.
George Gervin.
You figured,
He was
I'm
one of my
not
favorite
going to go with
players.
his nickname. I'm going to come my own. So you just cut out the man, just put
There you
Ice.
go.
And you came up with yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was my man.
How old were you then when you did that?
It was 8th grade. I was 13.
So you got the nickname early.
Yes.
That's a good thing, too, because it did stick with you all through high school
All
then.
through high school, all through college.
Man, oh, that's good stuff. Good stuff. And at the foul line, were you usually Iceman when you get there? Ice, yeah.
Yeah, until recently, I was had the career free throw percentage.
Wow. What were you shooting, about 89?
83.
83?
84%.
That's huge. Who beat you out, you know? Any idea? Some recent player came through, topped it?
Rush, Stephen Rush. And
The
there was
guy in
another-
Greensboro today?
Yes.
Yeah, Stephen Rush.
And
Yeah.
there was another guy. I'm thinking third now, but Steve Rush and another guy. I can't
Wow,
remember.
Stephen Rush wasn't there.
Austin. Was it Austin? I think his last name, first name was Austin.
And Rush wasn't there all that long either. He's only there a couple of years since he transferred in.
Yep.
That's amazing. Still beat Al Addle's assist record though. But when you see him getting his jersey retired, you think maybe I should get my one of my shoes retired over there then at A&T.
Yeah, he was a tremendous guy. He's done a lot for the game of basketball. So
Yeah,
it
a
was
lot of
worth
people
it.
probably weren't even aware about all his connections to A&T when he first got to Golden State and won, I guess, the championship. Maybe there was a
Exactly.
player and was a coach and all that. Just did so many great things. Do you think the brand of basketball is better than the triangle or better than the triad, Coach Griffis? Right now, you probably said the triad since you're here, but overall, what do you think?
That's a trick question.
Yeah.
This style is a little different. Mm-hmm. The style is a little different.
How would you say?
The triangle is a little more defensive minded. Mm-hmm. A little more offensive minded in the triad area.
A little more open up here?
A little more open
wide
up.
open,
Yeah.
looking for the offense. Did you experience both? Because when you left here, or sometime along the way after you left here, you began to coach down there, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
How'd you end up coaching down in the triangle? How'd that come about?
Started coaching Little League, as a matter of fact.
Oh, youth basketball.
Started coaching Little League basketball. Didn't think I would enjoy coaching. And once I started coaching the little guys, I fell in love with it. Coached middle school for a little while. Assistant coach for a couple of varsity high schools, and I got a JV head coaching job at Wakefield High School and Southeast Raleigh High School, so progressed from there.
What do you have to remember about being a coach as opposed? What are some things you have to leave out you did as a player you can't do as a coach? Sometimes you got to have a certain discipline. Maybe as a player you might do something one way, and as a coach you might do it another way.
One thing is the difference is I can't dress out as a coach.
Yeah.
Some of these Friday nights, man, I would love to have put on
The
the
fun
uniform.
part probably. You're probably thinking about that some nights.
Yes. From what I understand, from what the guys tell me, I was a little tougher as a point guard than I am as a coach.
Is that right?
Yeah, so they tell me I'm not as hard as I used to be.
Wow. Is that your teammates, old teammates saying that?
Old teammates, some of the players tell
Some
me.
players too. Yeah, sometimes it does change. Sometimes you get coaches who are tougher as a coach than they were as a player, and sometimes vice versa.
Yeah, I was much tougher as a player.
You knew what the thing about it is. It's hard for. I mean, we're just going all rationalization, rationalizing, but it's hard sometimes for a coach to actually be able to tell people, to explain to them, even get them to do it like he did as a player. I mean, you can say, "Man, I did it," and you could go out there and try to demonstrate it. You still can't get it across.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of times we do some things in practice, and I'll step in, throw my whistle in the shirt, and let me take your place, and we'll do a couple of things. To me, it seems simple.
How were you back as a defender? Because you played so hard on offense, all those assists. How were you back as a defender? It was size over a liability back in those old days.
Well, I hold a career record in steals, too.
You told me, yeah. So the steals, being lower to the floor was an advantage then.
It was.
You know,
it was.
go back to that Carolina Duke game last night. I probably saw more rip-in steals, all kind of crazy steals that game. I don't usually see that many steals in the game like I saw last night.
You don't really. It's tough to get a steal on a Division I guard. It really is. I used to get most of my steals off interceptions and just anticipating passes.
Timing those passes. It seemed like in that game last night, too, as the time goes on, you see bigger men handling the ball, and sometimes they think they can do more with it than they actually can, and until they're proven different, it doesn't really show up. But when they get ripped off, it does show up pretty quick.
Yes.
What do you think will make Grimsley a team that can contend for the title, even this year and even down the road? What will make you guys a team that can contend?
We just keep progressing. I mean, I've been there 3 years, and each year we've gotten better. The confidence level and the players have gotten better. The players are getting along better than they were before.
That means a lot too.
It means a whole lot.
You and the players, you guys got to live together for about 3 or 4 months, day in, day out. Yeah.
Just in the off season is big. People don't realize how big the off seasons are as far as progressing the program. And as long as the guys continue to work the way they have been in the last couple of years, I think we will be all right.
There's got to be a certain level of respect among teammates too, and sometimes they don't show it in practice or when they're in certain situations. But come game time or after games, then they know they respect their teammates.
A certain level of respect, a certain level of trust, a certain level of camaraderie and friendship that you have to have on and off the court. And this year's team seems to exude that togetherness that we're looking for.
How do you define that term, the old term game changer, and who would you say is maybe a game changer for Grimsley?
Well, we have a couple of guys. We're fortunate enough to have a couple of interchangeable parts where any given night, either one of the guys can step up and be that game changer. So that's something that is a plus for us. Hopefully we have 5 or 6 game changers come next week.
You know, sometimes Featherston, I'm looking around early in some games, maybe the Smith game I'm looking for him, he wasn't doing a whole lot early, but then all of a sudden you look around, then he becomes active, and he's active, boom, 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 all the way down the stretch run.
I don't think he realized what he actually has. He's a what I call a 5-star guy. Can handle the basketball, can pass, rebound, shoot, play defense.
And he's not a senior either, right?
No, he's a junior.
He's a junior. Didn't you guys play Southwest this year?
We did.
At their place, right? I remember being there for that game, because that's when you guys were going in 5-0 unbeaten. That was the first huge challenge game you ran into.
Challenge.
Yeah.
And then once again, we came out slow the first half, picked it up a little bit the second half. We can put together 32 minutes.
Yeah, that's the key right there.
And
if you have that late run, you want to make sure that late run comes in that last few minutes of the game.
Exactly.
How about if you had to go back and do it all over again, would you do it all? I mean, you got a lot of things to your credit, but if you had to do it, would you do it the same exact way or do it a little different?
I wouldn't change a thing.
Wouldn't change one thing.
Basketball doesn't owe me anything. I don't have anything to prove basketball-wise.
You could walk away tomorrow and it's all.
Walk away tomorrow and I'll be just as happy as I can be.
And if you go back and step in your shoes and you could be about 6'5", 6'6", you wouldn't even go for that, right? You'd stay the same?
I don't know about that one, Andy. I might
change that?
I might get a few more inches on it.
Man, because if you could get 5, if you were, let's say guys like yourself with that amount of talent, be 6'5", 6'6", your position would change. You'd probably go to like a 2 guard or a small forward and be ready to roll.
I wouldn't. I don't think I would want to leave that point.
Leave that point?
I wouldn't want to leave the point.
So you're seeing more and more tall point guards, even in the girls' game. I mean, that's becoming crazy how tall the guards are being these days.
Yes.
Because I don't think coaches are going to change either, because it helps the kid for college.
Exactly.
Because if he's 6'5" under, chances are he's going to be got to be close to being a point guard when he gets to college.
That's right.
And the coaches are doing these kids a favor. They let them play more. Just like over at Page, if Overton decides he wants to play college basketball as opposed to college football, he's going to be ready, I would think.
Yeah, if you look at the European basketball players, they do it all. They shoot the ball, they handle the ball well, they're excellent passers.
It's like you said before, interchangeable parts.
Interchangeable parts.
Exactly. Let's see, 20 years down the road where you see yourself. That's going to be heading on towards some latter years, but 20 years down the road, you see yourself coaching a group of alumni basketball players somewhere?
20 years down the road, man, I'm planning on being in a rocking chair with some grandkids.
Going to take it easy.
Some good basketball.
We were in here a couple of Thursday nights ago. I asked one of the players where she expected to see herself 20 years from now. She said she was going to be over at Coach Whitaker's old folks' home, taking them some presents over there to go see her coach, Coach William Whitaker. Let's see. Stuck on a deserted island. To get off the island, you got to play somebody one-on-one. They got to be a good player. Who do you bring in to play one-on-one to get off that island?
Who do I bring in to play
bring them in to play one-on-one. They got to be a pretty good player, and you got to beat them to get off the island. Who do you take one-on-one?
I have an old poster with me going to the hoop against Spud Webb.
You were going to get you a game against NC State?
Game against NC State.
Wow, man, that's a
game
classic.
Against NC State.
That's a
so
classic.
I believe I'd play Spud.
And take him and beat him and get off that island.
I sure would.
Wow, man, oh man, that'd be a great poster. Is that a poster which was for sale, or somebody made you the photograph and you turned it into a poster?
It was a photograph that was blown up.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, man.
People, people who know the history behind Webb and your history somewhat too, those would almost be the kind of poster you put in a sporting goods store and you would just go crazy seeing that poster.
That was a pretty good
And
game.
both you guys up around the rim, you say, right?
Well, actually, he's a little higher than I. He's a little higher than I was.
Man, that's amazing. Good stuff. Wonder what he's doing these days. Any idea?
I have no idea.
You always want to. I read where Muggsy Bogues just got married again a couple weekends ago.
Yeah, he was coaching the team in Charlotte one time.
He was United Faith,
Yes.
and now he's an ambassador, I think, for the NBA. And he just got remarried. I think he married his first wife. They got remarried after several years apart from each other. Muggsy was kind of a tough man back in some of his days. Tough
Muggsy
guy.
was tough.
He didn't mind scrapping, I believe, too. Really scrappy guy. Man, a lot of small guys. Always got respect for those. Tiny Archibald. Saw him on TV a while back.
He was on. He was. I think he was a judge in the dunk contest this past weekend.
Wow. That's another good one right there.
Good stuff.
Nate Tiny Archibald. Can't remember Spud Webb's actual first name. I remember always Tyrone Muggsy Bogues, but Spud's name, first real name, that's kind of one kind of hanging on.
Remember.
I'm about to go look him up on Wikipedia later today. A couple more questions for Coach Thomas Griffis. Ice Griffis put it on his back in the 8th grade and carried it the rest of the way.
Carried it through.
Did Coach Corbett call you Ice? Or
He did. He did.
That's an accomplishment there.
He did.
If you can get the coach calling you by your nickname, you've done something.
Sure
Went to
did.
football practice as a kid back at freshman in high school. Went to one of my football practices. I told the coach, he asked about my name. I told him my name. I gave him my nickname. He goes, I'll call you that when you earn it. He was coming out the next day, so didn't take too long. Anyway, the day after your last game this year, what are you going to be doing the day after the last game? I always like to ask a coach, get a coach to just think about this. The day after the last game's over in 2015, what would you be doing the next day?
I'd probably go hit a couple of golf balls.
Really? So a
Yes.
golfer too?
Yeah.
Wow, that's probably a good.
Well, I'm not a golfer. I play.
You play at it.
Play at it.
That's probably a good release for you, though.
It is.
You've got a favorite golf course around here anywhere you could do? Sure. No, just any place, doesn't
Just any
matter.
place.
So might be hitting some golf balls the day
Some
after.
golf balls.
I remember a couple of times back when I was doing some coaching after I lost after that last game. I'll keep thinking about that last loss. Anyway, you always want to seem to go somewhere and just get away from everything, maybe get a basketball and just take a few shots, and you start thinking too much about what we should have done.
Right.
It saves your
That'll
mind.
come the following week.
Yeah.
Take a trip to the beach.
You get away from that too. That's good. Good stuff. Who would you say would be the best college or high school coach you ever played for, or you've ever coached with, or just the best coach you've ever been around?
Don Corbett.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
Don Corbett.
I like that guy because he would come to his son's games at Grimsley, and I'll still remember, at least now, maybe I remember in the future, very inconspicuous. He'd walk in that gym. People didn't know him. Most people didn't because they didn't see him in any TV. He'd walk in that gym. He'd go take a seat up in the high bleachers, up near the top. Just watch that game.
I mean, after championship games, we'll look for him. He's in the locker room.
He's already back there.
He's already back in the locker room. He said, "It's your guys."
You guys stay out there, take it
guys.
all in. It's amazing. I tell you, fun talking to you, Coach. Keep
Appreciate
up the
it.
good work.
Appreciate